Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Stitch Sessions. This week I have a fun tutorial for you. We are showing you how to make this really great wine bottle gift bag. You can actually use it for anything, but I thought with Father's Day coming up, this might also make another fabulous gift that you can put a gift inside. So it's made up simply of single crochets and double crochets, and we're using here a technique called the front post double crochet. So this is a great way to add some texture to a project and understand how to do front posts so that later on when we talk about things like cabling, you will be a little bit more familiar with this. I made it with a cinch top so that the neck kind of sticks out. And then I added just this little decorative rope so that when you hold it, you can actually hold it by the rope, I guess you call it, that cinches it shut. So it's just a something I picked up at the dollar store. It's just a decorative rope, and you can cinch it shut, and it's nice and strong, so you can hold it by that, or you can hold it by the neck. And yeah, it's very beginner friendly and it's quite quick. So I'm looking forward to showing you how to make this cute and quick gift. And let's just grab our materials and let's get stitching. Okay guys, in order to do your wine bottle holder, you're going to need approximately 60 to 70 grams of, you can use any kind of yarn. I'm going to continue using cotton yarn just because for bags I find it's got a wee bit more strength to it. So just for the sample here of the bottom, I'm just using some leftover Handicrafter. But this is the colorway I'm going to be using. It's the Bernat Handicrafter 100% cotton. And this particular colorway is called Moon Dance. So I'm really excited about using it. Now for the base, so these balls have about 42.5 grams in them, right there. But sometimes it's not quite enough for a full project like a wine bottle holder. So your safest bet would be to buy 2 of these balls, okay? Now, I wanted to use black for the bottom third, we'll say, of the bag, just because I have a bunch of it lying around, and I thought it would work great with this colorway here. Now, I've gotten it started here, but black, of course, is not the best to work with on camera. So that is why I've got a little bit of some leftover scrap here to show you how we're going to start the wine bottle holder. We're starting from the bottom and we're going to work our way up to the top. So a great way to kind of work with your measurements is I actually took a wine bottle and set it in here and made sure that my circle, which is the bottom of my bag, had enough width in its diameter, which it did. So I'm going to show you how I got started, and then I'll set you off to the races. And once I build up the portion of the bag that's going to be in black, then I'll meet up with you again and reintroduce my beautiful, great little moon dance color. Okay, so in order to start, you've got to have your usual accessories, which are a pair of scissors. You should always have that on hand. And for later on, a darning needle so you can sew in your ends. And for this project, I'm going to use one of my favorite hooks, which is the 5mm hook, also known as an H or a size 8. I tend to use this one quite a bit. We're going to begin from the bottom of our bag. So that means we are going to start with a cinch circle. So you're going to wrap the yarn around very loosely, leaving a loop. You will insert your hook to gently pull through your yarn. So a cinch circle is basically an unresolved slip knot. So we do not want to close this in. And now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2. And that just helps to, 2 things. It helps to solidify the cinch circle, but it also gives us the height of a half double crochet stitch, which is the stitch we're going to be using to make this bag. So I'm just going to move my tail out of the way there. And now what we want to do is we want to do 7 half double crochets into the cinch circle. So we will yarn over, insert our hook into the space, pull through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3. So that is going to give us a half double crochet stitch. Now don't forget that this chain 2 counts as 1. So technically we have 2 already into the circle. We need to do another 6 to give us 8 full half double crochets into the center of our circle. So one more time, you yarn over, you'll insert into the space, yarn over to pull through with 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3. Sometimes cotton yarn can be a little finicky, and it might be a little finicky here too because we're just getting started, so it's going to flop around a bit. Just be patient and go slowly, and you should be a-okay. So go ahead until you've got your count of 8 half double crochets. Remember, that means you are going to have 7 half double crochets plus your original chain 2. So that should give us a total of 8 stitches at the end. Once you have 8, and I know that I do, 8 half double crochets, what we're going to do is we're going to pull on our tail to cinch our circle shut. You can pull it nice and tight. So you can see that brings our stitches in close together. And then what we want to do is we want to find the top of the chain 2 of the original first stitch there. And we want to slip stitch to close off the first round of our circle. Okay, so then you're going to have something that looks like this. Okay, and if you're unsure, just make sure you go back and count up all of your stitches. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, I hope you guys can see that. I know this is also a lighter yarn, but it's definitely better than using the black. So that's the first round, which is actually the very center of our bag here. Okay, so now we're going to go on to round 2. The bottom of my wine bottle holder has a total of 6 rounds, and you can make yours as wide or as narrow as you like once you understand the formula. So let's go on to round 2. For round 2, we're going to chain 2 again. 1 and 2. Then we are going to proceed to do another half double crochet into the base of that same stitch. So right through there, and then we'll pull through. So technically, we will have 2 stitches coming out of the base of 1. Remember, the chain 2 counts as 1. And then the basic pattern for this round is that we are going to do 2 half double crochets into each stitch all the way around. So our next stitch is found right here. And I'm going to insert to pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3 of those loops. And cotton yarn will get sticky, so just be patient. And now we're going to do one more into the base of that same stitch. So we yarn over, insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. So you can see, hopefully, we've got 2 stitches into 1. And I'm going to do that one more time. Oops, it's getting a little bit tight there. So I'm going to identify my next stitch, which is right there. Then I will yarn over, insert, pull through, resolve the half double crochet, and then yarn over and do that again. Okay, so there you are. So go ahead and finish that. You should end up now with 16 stitches at the end of round 2. At the end of round 2, you should make sure that you have 16 stitches. And be careful because a lot of times this looks like it's the final stitch, but it's actually the base where you did that chain 2. And if you're ever unsure, just go back and count your stitches. So I know I have 16 stitches, so I do not do another half double crochet into there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the top of my chain 2 here, and then I'm just going to slip stitch to close off my round. Okay, so round 2 is complete. We're now going to go on to round 3. So we will begin by chaining 2. And this time we are going to go into the next stitch right here. Okay, and we're going to do 2 half double crochets into that stitch. So remember in the previous round I had half double crocheted into the base of that same chain 2, but I'm changing it up here. So in the next stitch I'm doing 2 half double crochets. So technically this chain 2 counts as one on its own, so you can see there, pull it apart. Then these 2 are in the next stitch. In the following stitch you will do 1 half double crochet. Then we move on to the stitch next to it and do 2 half double crochets. So I hope you can see the pattern that is forming here for round 3. So the pattern is 1 half double crochet and then 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. 1 individual half double crochet into the next stitch, 2 into the next stitch. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2 all the way around. The end of round 3 you should have 24 stitches. And if you're ever unsure, make sure you count. So I'll meet you once we get to the end of round 3. And if you need to stop and go back, definitely do that. Take your time and remember to be patient with yourself. You'll get it. So we're at the end of round 3 and I know I have 24 stitches. So I am not going to work into that stitch. Some people call that a false stitch. I am simply going to find the top of my chain 2, which is right here, and I'm going to slip stitch to close off that round. So I'll just pull through and then I'll pull through here. Okay, so your work will look something like this. So that's round 1, round 2, and round 3. Going on to round 4, we'll begin again with chaining 2. And now we're going to half double crochet into the base of our chain 2. Okay, so that means we are going to have, 2 stitches coming out of there. So remember when I first started increasing, I did 2 half double crochets into the base of the chain 2, but then in the next round I did it in the next stitch. I will alternate with each round where I begin the increases, and I tend to do that so that my circle stays a little bit more rounded in shape. And there'll be many other ways of doing the circle. So in another tutorial we'll go over what the differences are, but for now, in round 2, I did an increase right away with my chain 2. In round 3, which is this just last round here, I chained 2 and then I increased in the very next stitch. The beginning of round 4, I'm going to do 2 half double crochets into the first stitch. Remember, the chain 2 does count as 1. And then I'm going to do 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. And then I'm going to do another half double crochet into the following stitch next to that. So now my pattern will look like this: 2 half double crochets, 1 half double crochet, 1 half double crochet, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, all the way around. Okay, so do that again. So the next one is going to be an increase. So that means we're going to do 2 half double crochets into that same stitch, and then 1 individual into the next stitch, and 1 individual into the next stitch. And you're going to do that all the way around till you get to the end. At the end of round 4, you should have 32 stitches. At the end of round 4, you're going to notice that you've got your increase here, you've got 1 individual half double crochet, and you may think, oh, now I have to go in here, but you do not. Because remember, the chain 2 counts as 1. So we had the chain 2, and then we went into the next stitch. Once you get to the end of once you get to the end of round 4, you are going to slip stitch into the top of your starting chain, and you should have 32 stitches at the end of round 4. Okay, so now what we're going to do for round 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, beginning of round 5, we chain 2 as usual. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we are going to do 1 half double crochet into the very next stitch, which is this one right here. We will do a half double crochet into the next stitch. So this means that we will have done 3 individual half double crochets. Means that we will have done 3 individual half double crochets, 1 into each stitch, and then now we are going to do an increase, which is our 2 half double crochets into the same stitch. So our pattern now for this round is 1, 2, 3 individual stitches and an increase. 1, 1, 1, increase. 1, 1, 1, increase. All the way around. And at the end of round 5, you should have 40 stitches. Okay, so again, into the next stitch, it's going to be the first half double crochet, the second half double crochet into the next stitch, the third half double crochet into the next stitch, and now an increase. So for round 5, we are increasing in every 4th stitch. Man, if that doesn't confuse you. Okay, so do that all the way around till you have 40 stitches, and I'll meet you at the end of round 5. I'm done my round 5 here, so I'm just going to slip stitch to the top of my chain 2, and round 5 is done. Okay, so you can sit it flat like that. So it's definitely coming along. So we have one more round to go. And I think you've guessed by now that we keep increasing the spacing between each increase. So for the final round of increases, which is round 6, we're going to chain 2. We will do a half double crochet into the base of that same stitch. So we're going to start with our increase. And now we're going to do 4 individual stitches. A half double crochet into the first, second, third, and fourth. And then we're going to increase into the 5th stitch. So we will do 1, half double crochet, 2, 3, 4, and then into the 5th stitch is where we'll do our increase. Okay, so it's going to be 4 stitches with 1 half double crochet in each of them, and then an increase. So we're going to have 1, 1, 1, 1, increase. 1, 1, 1, 1, increase. I think you get the gist, yeah? So at the end of round 6, you should have 48 stitches. And after round 6, we will do no more increases. We will just continue to do stitches all the way up, and that's what's going to make your work curl. But go ahead and finish your round 6, and then I'll start you off on how we're going to start building our bag upwards. So you can see with the base of mine, it's already started to do that. Okay, so finish round 6 with 48 stitches. So at the end of round 6, you are going to have 48 stitches. Okay, so that will be your bottom part of your bag. And in fact, I've gotten a bottle here, just so you can see the start here. So I placed that in there. In fact, I used a different bottle that was just slightly wider, but this is an average 750 milliliter bottle of wine here. So that's going to sit quite nicely on the inside there with a little bit of breathing room. So now what we want to do is allow this to start curling up to form the body of our bag. So that means we are no longer going to do any more increasing, okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to chain 2 to begin, as you see that I've already done here. And now for the next several rows, we're just simply going to do 1 half double crochet into each stitch all the way around. So I'm not going to go into this one because this is where the chain 2 came out of. But I am going to go into the very next one beside it. Pull through and half double crochet. And that's all I'm going to do all the way around. Okay. And so once you get to, and you can already see it starting to curl up because I'm not increasing anymore. So you're going to just do that all the way around. Once you get to the end, you will simply slip stitch and continue. Chain 2, 1 single crochet all the way around. So what I'm going to do here, because I want the bottom of my bag to be black, I am now going to do several rows. I will probably do about 6 rows between, about 6, maybe 8 or 10 rows. I basically want this, where the label is here, I want from the bottom to approximately the label to be the black portion. Just bring this up a little bit here. Okay, so I want the black portion of the bag to go from here to the label. And then the rest of the way up, I will then start using this, the Moon Dance color. Okay, so I will meet you once I get ready to change colors here. Okay, and if you want to do a similar idea, you're more than welcome. But if you just wanted to do it all with one color of yarn, you can certainly do that too. You can make it all the variegated color. You could do it all a solid color. Coloring wise, you're free to do it as you wish. So guys, continue on with your stitching. And all right guys, so I ended up doing 11 rounds to build up my bag, and the simple reason was the fact that I had just a wee bit of the black left and I didn't want to have any wastage. So I just went up just slightly over that label on the bottle there. And as you can see, I got to about 10 and a half rounds, then I finally ran out. So I just started incorporating my, my variegated yarn here. And for me, it doesn't bother me because it's going to add some interesting detail to the bag. So I just detached my yarn and I continued on with my half double crochets until I finished the round. I slip stitched, and now we're ready not only to add a different colorway, but we're going to do something slightly different with the stitching. And this is going to be a great project to actually practice some front post double crochets. So we've been using the half double crochet stitch up until now. We're now going to go on to using double crochet stitches, and we're going to talk about front post stitches. So later on in other projects, it gets slightly more intricate, a little more complicated. You'll hear them talking about using posts of stitches, and that's another way to create a really neat texture to your project. So for these next several rounds, we are going to chain 2. So for these next several rounds, we are going to always begin by chaining 3. 1, 2, 3. Now this will count as a stitch, so remember this is the base of this stitch here. So we are going to go into the very next stitch, and we are going to yarn over, insert our hook, but we're not going to go into the stitch. And we're going to also put a link in the description box down below on a tutorial we did about identifying different parts of your stitch. Now, granted, I realize that we are working against the black yarn, so I'm going to do my best here. So if you pull your work apart a little bit, these are half double crochets. So in a way, this is good because you can see this part here is the top of the stitch. So if I just pull that apart, you'll have those 2 loops there. Normally we would work into that, but we are going to work into the post. So see the spaces between the stitches? If I come up around, I've pushed the post of the stitch forward. And so when we do that, we call that a front post piece of work, okay? It'll be much easier to see once we work the double crochets. So the half double crochets are a little bit shorter, so just be patient. So we will yarn over as we normally would do when working on a double crochet stitch. Then we'll insert our hook into the sides of the stitches, in between the stitches. Then we come up around the other side of that post. So see, you've pushed the post forward. We then yarn over and pull through like we usually would do for a double crochet. That will give us 3 loops on the hook. We'll then yarn over, pull through the first 2 as we usually do, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2. Okay, so this is our chain 3, and this is our front post double crochet. So if I just turn the side, you can see that this is pushing the stitch forward a bit. Okay, so into the next stitch right beside it, we're going to work into the stitch. So we're going to yarn over, insert into the stitch. Remember, that's the top there. Pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. So what's going to happen with this particular pattern is we will work a regular double crochet into a stitch. The next one will be a front post double crochet. Regular double crochet, front post, regular front post. So they're going to alternate. You're going to do that all the way around. Now, don't worry, you're probably thinking, what's going on? I'm going to do a few more with you. Okay, so the next stitch is going to be a front post. Now, this is where we really want to watch, because remember that we've already worked into this stitch, so we would not work in around the post of that stitch. We'd go around the post of the next stitch. So each stitch has a post and a top to it. Okay, so I've already worked the top of this stitch, so I would not work the post. I go to the next stitch and work the post of the next stitch. Okay, yarn over, pull through. And you want to keep it fairly relaxed because you want your yarn to work, pull through, and pull up a bit, okay? Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Okay, so now you can see regular, post, regular, post. Okay, and it creates this funky loop effect. So we're going to do that again. Into the next stitch, we work into the top of the next stitch. Now this one's easy because it covers it up. Sometimes people want to work back into the top of this one, but try not to make that boo-boo. Okay, very next stitch is here. I work into the top of that stitch and do a double crochet. Then the next stitch will get worked into the post. Now remember, pull your work apart so you can see. The post, the next post is this one here, okay? So this top belongs to this post. And once you do a few, it'll be easy to identify because the front posts will start pushing themselves out. Okay, so you start seeing this alternating effect of these loops here. Okay, I'm going to do it again. A regular double crochet into the top of the next stitch. Resolve the stitch. Now a front post. So the post of the next stitch is right here. This is the post that belongs to this one. And it's just a little trickier because we're working into posts of half double crochet stitches. So once we get to the next few rounds where we'll be working into double crochets into doubles, it should be a lot more identifiable. Okay, and now a regular. So into the top of the next stitch. Okay. Front post into the next one, so around that post, staying nice and relaxed as you pull through, and front post. Okay, so it might not be quite obvious yet what's happening there, but just give it some time. So I'm going to set you loose. You're going to finish this round. You're going to continue on, and I will meet you just when we're ready to fasten the first round together. Okay, so remember, 1 front post, 1 into the top, 1 front post, 1 into the top. You're going to alternate all the way around. I know I repeat a lot, but I really like to make sure that people understand. Okay, guys, I'll meet you shortly. All right, my lovelies. So I have already done a boo-boo, which is actually one of the most common ones. And that is that I am short a stitch. And I know exactly where it happened, right here. The base of this stitch here, because it was slip stitched, there actually was technically, and you're most certainly not going to see it with the black, I can guarantee you. But technically, instead of going into the front post there, should have gone into this stitch here. But that is okay. So I have 47 stitches. I've just done a front post, a regular one. So the next one should be a front post so that it will match up with this one here. And normally we say that this belongs to that, so we wouldn't work into it. But guess what Karen is going to do? She's going to do exactly that. And this is the beauty of crochet. You can adjust things as you need. So I still want to make sure I keep my 48 stitch count. So I am going to work into the post of that next stitch there and pull up and pull through. Okay, so now it's butting up against my regular stitch, which is exactly what I want. And if you didn't understand any of what I just blabbed about, do not worry about it. We are going to, once you come up to the end, your last one should be a front post stitch. When you come up to the end, you want to find the top of your chain 3, okay, and you want to slip stitch into it. Okay, so there's the chain 3, and you might have to fiddle with it. And you're going to slip stitch. Okay, so now we're ready to continue on for our next few rounds. So now you can kind of see the effect, which kind of looks really cool. So now we're going to begin again by chaining 3, 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to do a front post double crochet again. So we always start with a chain 3, and the very next stitch will be a front post. And the really cool thing about this pattern is that now we've done the first round, we simply are going to front post into all the front post stitches. So we will yarn over. Remember, this one belongs underneath that chain 3. So the chain 3s will sit one on top of the other. You will work around the post. See how much easier it is on a double crochet? It's a slightly longer stitch. You'll work around that post. Okay, so then the next stitch will be easy to find because that is a regular, and we just work into the top of that as a regular double crochet. The next one will be a front post. So you work a front post into a front post. And these are double crochet front posts. Okay, so the idea behind this design is, it's going to create texture. So it's going to create, I'm just doing it from the side there, it will create a little bit of texture. So you've got this nice solid base, and then you've got a design that also has a bit of feel to it. And it'll give it this ridgy, bumpy effect, which will look really, really neat. So I'm going to do a few more with you. So the next one will be a regular double crochet into the top of the stitch. Okay, the next one will be a front post. Remember, it's not there. It is the stitch that already is pushed forward. That's the post you're going to work around. So now that we've done the first row, it should be much more easy to identify. The next one's going to be a regular double crochet, and I'm keeping them somewhat relaxed so that we have a nice even gauge. So the next one is a regular. Next one will be a front post, and as these get a little darker, you just have to pull it apart. So we work behind that post to push it forward, yarn over, pull through, nice and relaxed, and pull through. So now it's actually, believe it or not, it's easier to see textured stitches in solid colors because then the texture itself comes to life. When you're using variegated yarns, the color changes are many times fighting with the texture, but I think you can see the effect we're going for here. And once you work up your bag, the length of your bag, then you should really be able to see the effect. And even here, you should be able to see a little bit of it. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and do as many rows as you need until you get up to just where the bottle starts to nip in. So I just got the bottle here. So this height here from the bottom to where the black ends is approximately 4 inches. And so I'm going to keep going up till just around where it starts to nip in at the top. So I'm going to come just maybe below where the closure starts, okay? And I've measured that to be approximately 10 inches from the bottom to that closure there, okay? So I'm going to keep that the same, and then we're going to talk about how we're going to cinch it at the top. So go ahead and do as many rows as you need until you get your bag to be approximately 10 inches. Again, this is a standard size 750 milliliter wine bottle, okay? So do your rows, or rounds I should say, front post, regular, front post, regular. Remember that you're going to slip stitch to the top of your chain 3. You will chain 3 and then front post, a front post into the front post, a regular into the regular. Okay? So do that, and I will meet you once you've had your desired number of rounds done. Okay, so I got to about 8.5 inches, and then I ran out of my yarn. But actually, I put the bottle inside, and this is the perfect height. I think I'm going to leave it as is. And I just wanted you to see how nice this front post texture comes out. So when we alternate one front post, one regular, one front post, it gives it this nice ridge effect. So I'm super happy with that. You'll see this technique when people do things like sweaters, the cuffs, collars, things like that. That's a very common technique. So since there's a lot of white running through here, and I've got some white, I have just attached the white here, and now we're going to do the eyelets to cinch in our bag. So what's going to happen is we're going to go back to doing half double crochets. So we will chain 2, and then we're going to go back into the next stitch here, which is right next to this one, and we're going to, and then we're going to go into the next stitch and do a half double crochet. So make sure that you get those loops, pull through 3 loops, and pull through all 3 of them. Okay, and so what we're going to do for this round is we're going to do 1 half double crochet into each stitch all the way around. When you come up to the last one here, you will go in as usual. And now remember, this one right here is a false stitch. It belongs to the bottom of that chain 2. So what we're going to do is we're just going to find the top of the chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch. So working around, you should have your 48 stitches, and your work will look something like this. And now we're going to create the little eyelets for our sash or ribbon to run through. So we will begin again by chaining 2, and now we're going to do 3 more half double crochets, 1 into each of the next 3 stitches. Okay, so we'll yarn over, and remember, this is the base right here. We'll go into the next stitch, which sometimes this one can be funny to find, but just snuggle your way through. And remember that your chain 2 counts as 1. So in total, what we want is 4 half doubles, 1 next to each other. So this will be 3, and this is the 4th. Okay. Then we're going to chain 2. We will then skip 2, 1, 2, and into the 3rd, we will do a half double crochet and proceed with another 3 again. So we'll do 3 more. And remember that cotton yarn can sometimes stick a bit, so just be patient. So once you have 4 half double crochets in a row, you'll chain 2, 1, 2, you'll skip 2, and then in the 3rd you will continue on with that pattern. So we're doing 4 half double crochets, chaining 2, and skipping 2 stitches. Okay, so let me just take that out so you can see. So this is what your work will kind of come out looking like. Okay, so you're just creating these little eyelets here. So you can do that all the way around, and when you come back, you should have 2 spaces at the end with the chain 2, if the math is correct. Don't worry if maybe you might have a 3 or maybe you only have 1. You might have lost a stitch here and there, but just continue on in this general fashion and I'll meet you just at the end here. So 4 half doubles, chain 2, skip 2, 4 half doubles, and continue. Okay, here we are. We have 2 stitches left and I've chained 2, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the top of that chain 2 that we started with, and I'm going to slip stitch into that. Okay, so we can see that we've got these sweet little holes coming around there. And now we're going to do another 2 rows or 2 rounds of just half double crochet stitches. Okay, now this first one coming out of the eyelets, we start as usual with the chain 2, yarn over and into the next, not this one, into the next. Whoops. We're just going to do our usual half double crochet, and we're going to do that into each stitch, half double crochet. And then once you get into the spaces, to make it really easy is just do 2 half doubles into the space. Okay, so yarn over, go into that space, pull through, resolve the half double, and then do 1 more. Okay, and then you can continue on. Now this stitch is here. People might think it's there, but this space belongs to this post here, so we want to make sure we don't miss that. Okay, so insert. So see, these 2 are in the space. This one belongs to this post here. Okay, and that's important if you want to maintain your stitch count. Okay, so then you just continue on. And same thing when you get to this space here, you go into the space once and twice because we did a chain 2 originally. And then we go into the top of this post here, which is to the right of it. Okay, so go ahead and finish this round, and then you'll slip stitch, and then we're going to do 1 more round of half double crochets all the way around. Okay, so technically you have 2 more rows to finish, and then I'll meet you at the end. Okay, so I'm very happy with the way this came out, and all we're going to do now is just create a sweet little finishing round. Now this does not cover the full top of the bottle, but I like the look of having the top peek out and then cinching this in at the neck. You, however, can make several more rows if you'd like it to go completely up. I just felt that the look called for not going all the way up. So just as a finishing round, we're just going to add a little bit, I guess a little embellishment you can call it. We're going to do single crochets all the way around, but what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 single crochets into each stitch. Okay, so I've chained 1, and I'm going to go right back into the base of my stitch, which I don't normally do, but in this last round I'm going to. And then I'm just going to go right away into the next stitch, and I'm going to do 2 single crochets. So we're not yarning over this time, we're just inserting, pulling through, and coming over. And then I go into the next one and I do 1, 2. Okay, and this is what you're going to do all the way around to the end of the round, and then you are finished your bag. You can just fasten off, weave in that end, and then add a really sweet little ribbon or lace or cord in through your eyelets there. Okay, so I'm just going to show you. So you should be able to see that it should start to pucker and buckle a little bit, and that's actually what we want to have happen. So in a way, it's just creating a little little bit of a ruffle effect along the top just as an embellishment. Okay, so go ahead and do that all the way around. If you would like to just leave yours plain, you can certainly do that too. Okay, but if you're doing the embellishment with me, I will meet you at the end. We will fasten off and snip off, and then you're good to go. So go ahead and finish that 2 single crochets into each stitch. When you get to the end, just slip stitch, fasten off, weave in your end, and you are good to go. All right, and so I am finished my wine bottle gift bag, okay? And so you can see that the finishing row with the 2 single crochets into each stitch just gave it this really sweet little ripple effect. So what I want to show you now is putting in the sash or the ribbon. Now, I found this at the dollar store, and some of you may recognize this. A long time ago, people used to use this to tie back their curtains, all kinds of things. So it's, I guess it's cotton polyester type of twisty cord. It's just got a whole bunch of it for, I think, $1.50 or something like that. But this makes for great handles, cinching things in. And I thought, since we have a wine bottle gift bag, I wanted something a little sturdier. Now, you can certainly make your sash to go in. You can use a ribbon. But what I'm going to do with this design is, not only is this going to be used as an embellishment, but it's also going to be used as a handle too. So when you've got your cord, and I have cut, actually, oops. I have cut about 34, 36 inches of this cord here. So when you've got the length that you like, figure out where you want your quote-unquote front to be, and meaning where you'd like your ribbon to kind of come out of or cinch in. So I just kind of like the way this side looks, so that's where I'm going to begin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the ends here, and I'm going to feed it in. And then I'm just going to go along the bag and weave it through. So in and out, then in and out. Don't worry about this little fraying end. I will talk about that in a second. So in and out. In and out, and perfect. I'm back to the beginning. Now, if this didn't work out like this, like let's say I had an extra eyelet and it was to go in, that wouldn't have been an issue, because then what you could do is come back out in the same hole here. So either way, whether you have an even number of eyelets or an odd number, it will work out fine. For me, I actually like the fact that this worked out perfect. So once you've cinched it through, you just want to make sure that it's nice and even to where you have your ends here. Okay, so you see, once you cinch it in at the top, then it just snuggles around the neck of the bottle. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to knot this end together. So that way, whoops, maybe a little finicky here. It'll stay fairly secure. When you hold it. So you want to pull it really tight. Okay. Now, this frayed end you can totally leave there, and that would look really cool as part of the embellishment. You can trim it down and then use fabric glue to just dab on the ends so it doesn't continue to fray. I personally don't mind this. I kind of like this look of the fray at the bottom, and I've done a few bags like this. So I'm actually just going to leave this as is. Okay, so you've got your bag there and it is finished. That's it. So now what I would do with this is when the bottle's in there is I can still create my bow here. See that? And then I can actually also use these to carry it. And this is super strong, and this is why I like this, and this is why I chose to use cotton yarn for the wine bottle bag, because, you know, you've got glass in here, you want to make sure that it's sturdy. So you've got an embellishment and you've got a handle all in one. So this is how the bag will look like with the bottle on the inside. So this is how the bottle will look like. So this is how the bag will look like with the bottle on the inside. And you just tie your bow here or cinch it however you like. Just like that. And it is ready to go. And then you can, if you like, you can use this bow to pick it up. And we are off to the races. And there you have it, gang. Here is your wine bottle gift bag. And the beautiful thing is that it is completely reusable and it'll last forever. And it's sturdy. And in fact, you don't even have to use this for a wine bottle. You can always use this for different types of gifts as well. All right, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this fun tutorial. Make sure to click that subscribe button so you'll stay up to date on all of our tutorials. Remember, they're free. And make sure to click that notification bell so you'll know every time we upload a video, which is every Wednesday. And it's either a tutorial or some of our stitch session conversations. We always love having you come along with a work in progress. And if you find these videos helpful, make sure to share it with your friends. We love to extend the crochet and conversation family. So in the meantime, everyone, have an amazing day. Happy crocheting and see you next time.